heavy rain today. Lots of thunder and lightning during various times too. I guess the rain is actually welcomed by a lot of people because of things like the wildfires. And what's going on today? This was kind of an interesting read. You'd often heard in terms of people using drones for things like hunting. They've been banned because, to my knowledge, it gives them an unfair advantage, for example. But how about if you're actually trying to use a drone just to recover, I guess, a downed animal per se? Should you be allowed to use it in that way? This one says, drones for deer recovery, landmark legal fight pits hunters versus government. I often heard this phrase in terms of how people say the rules are inconsistent. It says, drones for me, but not for thee. Hunters have a right to use drones in recovery of downed deer, says Mike Yoder, and that right is anchored in the First Amendment. A bellwether legal fight is underway that pits hunting, freedom of speech, and entrepreneurship against the bounds of government control. Michigan, along with many other states, insists drone use on private or public land is illegal in all hunting-related action, including location of downed deer. Yoder has filed a federal lawsuit contending he has a constitutional right to collect and disseminate information on the location of downed game via freedom of speech. What's happening is government overreach. Drones handled the right way mean an end to stomping around the woods or tracking with dogs to stir up unnecessary pressure on deer, he says. Drones are the future of game recovery. And when I think hunting, I usually think of people using things like guns, but here it says probably 95% of our business is archery related, and we search roughly 800 to 1,000 yards from the track site or where the deer ran according to the hunter's eyes. Yoder explains, we recover almost 100% of all carcasses. That's how great the technology works. And they use things, for example, like thermal cameras, because they talk about things like heat signatures and all that. So I guess with that, I could kind of imagine how it would be useful where if people are using things like archery, then the animal will run away to a certain place, you don't know where it is. That's where the drone would come in. But there is the legality, as they say. And that's where the interesting argument comes in, because here he's saying the Department of Natural Resources, I guess the people that come up with the laws and all that, it says DNR can use the drone to do any kind of activity it chooses, but allows no one else to do the same. Yoder says their position is ridiculous because drones can be used for the good of hunters, the state, and the overall deer population. I'm fighting for what's right. That's a fair point, isn't it? I often say, if you say, for example, the drone's too noisy around certain animals, it's too dangerous, for example, then you using it doesn't magically change the situation all of a sudden. It should be consistent. If someone like me, for example, I can't use it in a quote safe way and all that, then you shouldn't be able to either. So the argument there is, should they be allowed to use it too? Because they do it. Is it just one of those things where for some reason it's okay for you but not them? What would you think about that situation? And still with the topic of drones and the issue of wildfires in various areas here, it seems like some people are staying around the area and using drones to document the situation. And in this case, I guess, again, it's official saying don't do that. It says conservation officers captured drone flying over central Okanagan Wildfire and saying this is a reminder, these drones create a significant hazard. A potentially dangerous situation for firefighters battling the Grouse Complex wildfires in the central Okanagan after a drone was spotted near one of the blazes. Conservation officers with the BC Ministry of Environment were able to identify the operator and seize the drone, said Brad Litt, BC Wildfire Service Incident Commander. This is a reminder, these drones create a significant hazard to our aerial operations pilots and crews. Light did not reveal whether the drone was intercepted. But I would ask again, were they actually posing any danger, or were they just quote documenting the situation? Because during these times, I think it's actually important, just with some of the news and stuff that's coming out. And they persist here to, I guess, discourage people, saying anyone found interfering with wildfire control efforts, including flying drones, can face penalties up to $100,000 and or up to 1 year in jail. Over the weekend, Lick said that McDonald Creek Fire challenged fire guards around Hidden Creek and planned ignitions in that area were not conducted. Planned ignitions work is being done today, August 28th, at other sections of the fire adjacent to West Kelowna, which includes 500 hectares along the western edge of the blaze. Actually, with that thought, it makes me wonder, is this why someone was flying their drone? Because you remember that story not too long ago where in certain areas they had a planned ignition and they messed up, I guess, royally. From what I remember, they said the reason why it didn't succeed that time is because they didn't anticipate, I guess, things like the wind, so it actually blew the flames to other areas where it shouldn't. It makes me wonder, was that the reason why they wanted to document it? Is it because they assumed or thought they may mess up as well here? But now that it's quote illegal, they took the drone away, you won't have that, I guess, detail to review, which actually it's just as concerning because you need information to find out what's going on at the moment. Are people actually doing their jobs? So what would you say in that case? Would you still say, nope, it's a quote wildfire, all drones are banned, you're not allowed to film it? Or would you say, again, if they're in a distance and it's not quote interfering with the operations, then it should be okay? What would you say there? Alright, see you guys later.